Hello, good evening, and welcome to the program Compliments of the Season, and welcome to Sunday Politics on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Tonight on the program, we examine the latest developments shaping Nigeria's political landscape. The push for constitutional review is gaining momentum with key proposals that could redefine governance and elections. Meanwhile, in Rivers State, the crisis continues to deepen as shifting loyalties fuel fresh political realignments. What does this mean for Nigeria's political and democratic development, especially against the backdrop of the recently announced state of emergency, which continues to reverberate and shape the discussions within and outside the Niger Delta? Well, joining me on the program tonight to help us break it all down is Nuruddeen Hammanyero, a keen political analyst and a chieftain of the APC. Compliments of the season to you, and thank you so much for joining us on the program. It's good to see you. Right. We have quite a lot to cover, but let's start with one of the biggest developments of the week is the bills that have passed second reading in the House of Representatives. A lot of them were quite interesting, to say the least. Some of them were raising eyebrows, but we also understood that the House has rescinded its decision on some of the controversial ones, like the immunity clause being removed from the Vice President, the governors, and the deputy governors. First of all, let me just get your general expectations when it comes to constitution amendments and reviews as they relate to good governance in this country.
Honestly speaking, it's long overdue, because the last time we had a system that worked for Nigeria and Nigerians was the First Republic. That's my opinion. But if you ask so many Nigerians, they will tell you the same. Because if you look at what happened between 1960 to the first military coup that killed our first generation of leaders, Ahmed Bello and Tafawa Balewa in the north, with a couple of other regional leaders like Ibrahim Waziri, Aminu Kano, and the rest, they gave us a very good system. Until date, to shock you, we are still celebrating them. Even more than the current democratic system we're talking about. How many years? 60 years down the line, memory lane, we are still celebrating the First Republic. And the same thing with what the likes of Akintola, Awolowo, you know, a lot of them, Olusoji, all these First Republic guys in the south, in this western region, they did wonderfully very well. Shape the political system, bring about development in the region. Until date, they are celebrating them more than the current leaders we have in those areas. So if you ask me if it is in line with Nigeria's expectation, I would tell you yes, but it's the manner in which it is going to be achieved now that should be questioned. How would they want to achieve that? But should we be seeing it happening? I expect it, because I would love to see Nigeria develop. So if it means Nigeria developing in its segments form, let the northern Nigeria develop, let the eastern Nigeria develop, let the western Nigeria develop, and together we all look at growth and development. Why not? Because
you talk about the First Republic, and interestingly, they're also considering a return to the parliamentary system of government. How is that even fathomable, given that in the Fourth Republic we've been experimenting or practicing governance using the federal system, the presidential system of government?
Like I'm saying, we got it right with those guys. Wonderfully, we got it very good. It's just that it was truncated very early, at the earliest stage. Okay, look at, I tell you what happened in Rivers State, similarly happened in 1962 between Awolowo and Akintola, and Tafawa Balewa was in the middle, the prime minister. And he declared state of emergency, but due process was followed. But he had to wait until the matter was heated so much to the extent that when he came to the National Assembly, through his proposals, he got largely supported by almost 85%, both at the Senate and the House of Representatives. So we had a very good system building up, but it was truncated. And in between, we had a lot of military, you know, yes. Every after 5-6 years, we have a new military government taking over for one reason or the other, and again, democracy will come in for 2-3 years. It will go and like that. But if you ask me, if that would have been the best system for Nigeria, I would tell you yes. I would anywhere I would stand by this because it has worked. And this seems not to work. It seems not to work because
the presidential system is not working?
It's not working. Because I tell you, till date, there are so many questions rising from different aspects of the country on the powers at the center, or even the powers at the subnationals. Because what governors tend to do with their powers, sometimes you wonder if they are for the people or for themselves. And likewise, the president. So if you are, generally speaking, if you want to look at this, I would tell you it's better we have, the system that was working for Nigeria in the 60s, which was the First Republic.
Already, the bicameral legislature that we have right now, the Senate and the House of Representatives, has been heavily criticized for the most part under the current democratic dispensation for being an overkill, that we can do with just one, or that we can work with them on a part-time basis. Which one do you think is much more realistic? Cutting down the number of from 2 to 1, say for instance just the House of Representatives, and do away with the Senate, or changing the entire system? Which one do you think is likely going to happen under the current political atmosphere that we have right now?
I see the 1960-1963 political system, being achieved easily, because regions, at this moment now, we have senators and reps from all regions. And if the northeastern, legislative body will come together and look at the scenario, how do we stand to achieve in this arrangement? Should we be better as a region deliberating about our own 5 to 6 states and look at how we bring about development? If yes, how do we negotiate our position at the national level? And are we looking at the entire northern Nigeria, or we should still break it down to the northeast? You understand? So I see it is better if we concentrate on having it all together, but we maintain still the Senate and the reps like we started, because it was working. It was really working. And there is no reason to have changed. It's just that the system, the recruitment system that bring about the birth of the current democratic dispensation we are having, is what is making governance looking unrealistic, and is why Nigerians are questioning, are these guys really for Nigeria, or for their people, or for themselves? So the system of going back to the earlier republic of 1960 is best, but even at that, we have the Senate, we have the reps.
Yeah, but what are the chances that this idea, as disruptive as it appears to be, is going to scale through? I mean, would, say for instance, a President Ahmed Tinubu throw his weight behind something like this, do you think?
I think he would do that.
Do you think he would support a switch to a parliamentary system?
I think he would do that, because if you remember, earlier in this government, the president was talking about regional system. So could this also be part of the earlier call from the president on regionalization? If yes, then why wouldn't he throw his weight on the matter? And I expect to see it happening, because the president is a realistic person. So if he has seen that regions, because look at how chaotic and at this point becoming stagnant the issue of the tax reform bill. Our understanding of things have really, hold everything to a standstill in Nigeria. Because no matter how good you bring an idea, it takes you donkey years to convince the other party that this is how it will work.
I mean, does a parliamentary system change that, you think?
Of course it will.
Does it make governance easier?
It will make governance easier, because I tell you, okay, now look at what happened. When the Akintola and Awolowo thing happened in the Western region, the Western group sat down and looked at it and said, look, Akintola, you should resign. But he was deaf. He refused. He refused to resign, and he was forced to resign. This was an internal decision, and it was a party problem, policy and governance between him and the action group at the national level. But the state assembly The Western Region Assembly sat down in Ibadan to ratify, and that was where dispute erupted. So they had a good system for themselves. Yes, internally there will be some democratic misalignment and alignment that will be taking place, but which is okay. This is also part of democracy. But if you ask me, because it reduces a lot of friction, because the culture is the same. In some cases, religion is the same. In most cases, the custom, tradition, so many things, there's a similarity. It closes a lot of gaps. So because we refuse, the one thing that makes us embrace, independence and unity from 1960 and coming down to the 1973, where we, after the reconciliation and the, effort to reunite Nigerians across all divides, was to make the country one and develop it, because they say there is strength in number. But how many years today? 50-something years. 1973, 75 to now, we're talking about 50 years. And nothing. In fact, the gap seems to be widening. So if the president will holistically sit down and look at this and get the right support, because I'm sure it is not just a matter that will end at the National Assembly. We have regional leaders till date. And that is why when you see crisis happening, you expect those big stakeholders in the region to weigh in and bring about solution to those problems.
Right.
So I expect to see this happening. It's just that we should do it within the democratic framework and not bring about any sentiment that would jeopardize.
Remember, such a big shift would require a significant groundswell of political support, not just at the federal level. It is one thing for the National Assembly to get this through, for the president to assent, and for the states to have a buy-in, because you still are going to require a 2/3 majority from the East State Assembly to support that. And I don't know if the governors would be willing to throw their weight behind this idea. But what also do you think about this big disruptive bill, which is seeking to make our elections a single-day exercise, one-day exercise for the general elections? The president, National Assembly, governors, State Assembly.
It has its pros and cons. When you do it a 24-hour thing, it will increase pressure on the security system. Our security structure will be overstretched. Mind you, we still don't have the numbers. We are still understaffed as far as security is concerned. And because security plays...
We're talking about elections.
I understand. And because security plays a significant role in conducting a peaceful election, there is no way. Look at, even when you break it down to 3, with a space of about 2 weeks, the National Assembly with the president, governorship election with the State Assembly, about 2 weeks, in some cases even 3 weeks. In the last election, it was extended with about a month, 26, 16, I think so, 18, almost a month. But still, we usually have problem of insecurity to guarantee election, safety of both the electoral system itself and the people that are going to vote. Now, if you merge all of it together, security is very essential, meaning the government has to make adequate arrangement, if that will scale through and be effective coming 2027, to ensure that we have provided adequate security in terms of human and material resources, so that every polling unit will be provided with sufficient security to guarantee an atmosphere of the voter to come and cast his vote and go peacefully. Because if there is no security, there will be no election. And that is why I'm talking to you about the security, which is essential. On the other hand, the electoral umpire itself, we have seen their misgivings in most of the election, despite the technological, advancement. And if you see from what happened 2015 down to 2023, they even upgraded their system. The last one was a system that was supposed to work from the what do you call it? Was it the card reader itself?
Beavers.
Beavers itself. You are supposed to vote, and it will transfer to the server. But with all of these, in some areas, in fact, most of the areas, we resulted back to the manual system. It was only verification exercise that were taken on the beavers, but election, and submissions in most cases were not, till date, some people will tell you, is there anything like server? So now, if the government wants to do this thing and achieve it very well, security number one. Number two, to review and restructure the Independent National Electoral Commission. Could it be in a manner that they will have, an additional maybe system review on how to handle these things? Also, they need more manpower, they need more technology, they need energy to do it. There has to be a total review of the system because you can't achieve it a day. That meaning, at this point, if these things cannot be put in place, I wouldn't advise a day election.
So you're saying it's more than just putting 2 more ballot boxes on the election day, 2 more ballot papers in the hands of voters.
It's more than that. In fact, you are risking the life of the voter if you don't put adequate measures on ground. Because I tell you, people with sinister motives, the moment, because they know all it takes to win or lose is 12 hours. Now where you have days of planning and replanning, there is still issue. We still don't get it right. Now, if you reduce the hours, meaning a criminal who wants to disturb this system and rig himself through or destroy some certain places because he knows he's not going to win, all he needs is just hours of destruction. He does not need any 1 week planning or 2 weeks planning. On that day, once it is gone, it is gone. So, honestly speaking, without adequate arrangement, it's a very risky move and should not be given.
So, if you consider the risks, which one would you vote for if you have to vote on whether to experiment with one-day general elections in this country?
At this point, I will tell you, no, I don't vote for this. In fact,
let's stagger.
Yes. In fact, in this same station, I once advised, because we are still maturing as a country and politically. So for us to get it right, my own advocacy about politics, if we can even handle it individually, meaning the state assembly should be voted alone in one day. Likewise, the governor, likewise, the reps, likewise, Senate and the president. Or at best, you match the National Assembly, make it one vote. President one day, the National Assembly one day, governor a day, and the State Assembly a day with the councillors. If we can do all this for the entire 774 local government and take a day each, I feel it will streamline because you allow voters to concentrate.
What about incumbency influence? Because usually when the presidents, when the winner is almost certain to come from one political party or the other after the first round of the ballot with the presidential and National Assembly elections, there is always that concern that the subsequent election more or less looks like a formality because the body language of the voters as well as the powers that be are already shifting because we already know who is going to be the president. Don't you worry that that influence alone itself is bad for our democracy? If
you do a bottom-top arrangement, a top-bottom arrangement, you get scared for that. But if you go a bottom-top arrangement where...
So we should start with the small elections?
We start with the councillors. Once you start with the councillors, you have exercised democracy at the grassroots. And people know who they have voted. They might come from different parties. They might all come from the same party. And if you scale to the next stage, which is the state assembly, the governor might not really have influence on who wins, especially if everything is being conducted by one body, which is the Independent National Electoral Commission.
Yeah, that's also part of the review that's coming.
Yes, let it be that even the councillorship election will be conducted by INEC and not ISEC, or like the way it was suggested, local government independent electoral, is it something like that? And if it is national, yes, one will also tell you that what about the influence of the president at the top, because he hires and fires who becomes the INEC chairman. Part of the review should also capture the appointment of INEC chairman should not be a baby of the president, but let the system itself produce its chairman and to be ratified by the National Assembly, but not the appointment of the president. Meaning people who have passed through as a career in that system. Because now, what we have today, INEC only works in the entire 4 years. They only get to work effectively for 3 or 4 months, or maximum 6 months, or let's go at best a year. The remaining years, they are practically like a system not working, except on petty
the off-cycle
yes, like re-election, by-election, and how many of those do you get in the entire 4 years? So practically, if INEC is going to be a body that will stand the test of time and serve all Nigerians meritoriously, then INEC should produce its chairman and not the president electing.
All right. I mean, it begs the question, where would the checks and balances come from? But point taken. Let's talk about one of the controversial bills that was considered and then reconsidered, and we understand that it is no longer going to be a part of the review process. Immunity for vice president, governors, and deputy governors. It was considered and passed for second reading. We understand that the House of Representatives has rescinded that particular process. But what do you think about it as far as accountability and transparency is concerned? So much has been said about other countries, developed democracies that don't have these safety net for political leaders who have the option of misbehaving, so to say, quote unquote, when they're in office because they have this immunity. What do you think about the whole idea itself and what the framers of our constitution were thinking when they decided to put that immunity clause in the 1999 constitution as amended?
The immunity clause was, I will call it, was a deliberate architecture of robbing Nigerians, even from the onset, because you don't need to be scared if you are asking for the confidence of the public. I want you to vote me. Then I should not be afraid to do my job, and at no point I should be thinking of, I need immunity, I don't want to be obstructed, if truly the purpose is service to humanity, service to your people. So completely for me, I'm against immunity, not even for the people you have mentioned, but including the president. Because if you look at other countries, okay, now, we have seen a lot of governors in Nigeria who have tampered with the state resources, who were rude to their people in their time as in office. But what happened to them? They are just running around this country, still going about with security, dictating the tune of their litigation in court. Some, the judges would die, and after some time, you don't even get to hear about it. And where does that leave the state? Where the damages has taken place. What will be the remedy? So if we are going to build a good system, immunity for everybody should be withdrawn. Once you are accused of doing anything wrong, recuse yourself. In fact, if you have a lot of responsibilities, let's say on a level of 1 to 10, it should be reduced down to 2 or 3 so that you don't get to work in full potential. Allow the law to take its course. Clear yourself with the judicial system. Prove that you are innocent. Then come back and assume full duty. But in a situation where a governor will misuse or misappropriate, okay, now part of the challenges in Rivers State is misappropriation of public funds. And not just Rivers State, a lot of states. Look at what happened in Kogi State during the time of Yahya Bello. Where is Yahya Bello today? Look at what happened in Abia State. Where is the governor today? Look at what a lot of them, and look at, because of the indecency and immorality we are having in our political system, we have developed a kind of kangaroo arrangement where these guys finish as governors and transit to the National Assembly and continue to enjoy the same immunity. And that is why today I tell you this reliably. I was discussing with a senator who told me whenever they are going to deliberate or pass a bill, they know they have a -10 vote, because he know those guys can't even vote against the government, for example. because they were governors who were very dirty. And today they are in the National Assembly because they want a safety net. And how dare them try to take a decision off the position of the government, good or bad, except if the decision is good. But in the event somebody is passing a bill that is against the people, they don't even have the courage or the guts to make their opinion open, because they are already people that have soiled their hands and they don't have the integrity to speak any longer. So honestly, for me, I stand for democracy to come to stay, for democracy to be enjoyed and become a system of the people, by the people, and for the people. There should be no immunity for anybody. You come, you do your work, you are found guilty, go and clear yourself and come back and continue. After all, it's a system,
right,
with or without you.
Right.
When you were not there, was it not running?
So, okay, we're going to head over to Rivers in just a moment, but while we're still staying on the National Assembly and some of the developments, this week we observed the contentious and some sort of scandalous back and forth within the Red Chamber regarding a push by Senator Abaribe to immortalize Professor Humphrey Nwosu, the man who oversaw the botched 1993 elections. And it was Nigerian politics at play. Not necessarily our best version, but you saw ethno-regional sentiments come to play, even though the presidency or the president has, made some statements that you can tell is trying to calm the nerves as a result of what happened. What were your takeaways from that debate? Immortalizing people in this country has become sort of a big deal. Usually there are people who cross a certain threshold where their record is unblemished, and we seem to have some sort of agreement about how we see them as national heroes or as revered personalities. What were your takeaways from that, whole saga in the National Assembly?
For me, advocating for him to be immortalized is not really an issue. Abaribe should prove his point beyond reasonable doubt. If Nwosu has done something in the interest of Nigeria, it was a military regime, and we know a lot of people were not in supportive of so many of the military, activities, but they were under the military dispensation and they didn't have a say. But rather they choose to do some things different to vindicate themselves against what the future will present. Now, if Abaribe feels Nwosu has done so much, he should make his point clear. But for me, I think immortalizing Nwosu can be a thing of, his state, his region. There are universities you can name after him. There are streets you can name after him. All these are way of, just like the way the National Stadium was renamed, and then airports, all these things to Moshood Abiola International Stadium. Very soon you hear another one, somebody who immortalized Baba Gana Kingibe because he was his deputy. All these things will be taking place. But for me, I don't see it as an issue, because if Nwosu has done well, he didn't do it for himself, he did it for Nigeria. But why now? That's just the question. Is it because Babangida presented his book, in an attempt to have a presidential library and was having a hit back, and some people are claiming victors, some are being tagged as, what do you call it, villains? I don't know. If this is the time Abaribe wants to do it, maybe he's also not doing it at the right time, because since when has he known that Nwosu should be immortalized? Is it today? It's not today. So why has he been quiet? What really triggered him to remember that Kingsley, is he Wilfred Humphrey Nwosu should be immortalized at this stage? So for me, I think it's of course it might be a good thing to do, but this is not the right time.
Okay, let's cross over to Rivers State, because as you did mention, there's quite a lot happening since the suspension of Governor Sim Fubara and the legislature by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu following that pronouncement of a state of emergency in the state. A lot has happened, a lot of condemnation for the president's action and the National Assembly's part in all of this. But over the past 24 hours, we have witnessed some rather disturbing trends from that part of the country. In fact, let's go to his neighboring state, Bayelsa, where we understand something has been brewing, politically speaking, where Governor Duediri had to make a rather stern comment about an upcoming event in Bayelsa State, where he says there is an attempt to undermine the political stability in that state. And of course, he blamed it on one particular man who has been linked to the quagmire or the scandal in River State, the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. But the thoughts of the governor of Bayelsa State, Duediri, regarding that political event, which he said will not be allowed to hold. Let's listen to his thoughts and come back to double down on what that says about the polity in the Niger Delta.
Some persons from this state, particularly one George Turner, is threatening the peace of this state. And recently there is a Facebook report with his own number that is going to host the Minister of FCT in Tombia roundabout in Bayelsa. The minister is not from Bayelsa State. This is not FCT. This is Bayelsa State. All service commanders should be at alert. That meeting must not take place in Bayelsa State. He can host his minister anywhere outside Bayelsa State. And I direct further that no public place, no public school, no public place, infrastructure, should be used by anybody except by the approval of the state government. Every public facility in this state owned by the Bayelsa state government, nobody can use it except with the express approval of the Bayelsa state government. And nobody should import and export insecurity in their states to Bayelsa state. And so service commanders, you are put on alert that any of such gatherings should not and will not hold in Bayelsa State. There is a government in place here, and this government and the security agencies have worked tirelessly to keep the peace of this state.
Save for the fact that he's dressed in his traditional outfit, one would have thought that that is something very typical of a military commander or administrator, dishing out orders about what may or may not happen in a particular geographical location. Talk to me about the political atmosphere in this country, because it's charged to a point where you begin to express concerns about the undemocratic nature of the discourse, right? One would say, listen, this is Governor Duediri protecting his turf because he's seen what has happened in Rivers. And we understand how politicians sometimes can be overbearing. But talk to me as a politician, speaking on the state of affairs in this country. What do you make of, all of this development so far?
Honestly speaking, Wike, as good as he is in terms of project development, the Mr. Project that many are calling him, he has done so much in River State. He is now doing the same in FCT, identifying projects that requires to be completed, you complete required, looking at those that should be, he is doing his best as a minister. I think he should slow down and keep to his mandate as a minister. Yes, he is working under our, government of our APC government. The president loves him because of the development he is bringing to bear in FCT, and there is a mutual respect between them. Even though on the other side, so much heated, relationship between him and other party members in the PDP, which is not really my problem. But again, I think generally speaking, he should slow down, because the job of the FCT minister is overwhelming, that we know. A lot of development should be taking place. That alone will certainly take your time. So where do you get this extra time to be overstretching yourself, trying to, put unnecessary tension on the other party? Is not yet political time. Like I always say, effectively, time for governance is still active until first quarter of next year, generally. And if Wike wants to achieve much and also leave, his legacy behind, just like that of Malam Nasir El-Rufai when he was FCT minister, then he should try and focus his energy onto development in FCT. Yes, you cannot separate yourself as a party person anytime, irrespective of what you are doing. But that should not be given enough attention, because Bayelsa State, like the governor said, is not his state. Even what is happening in his state already has not only heated up River State, but it has, touched the entire atmosphere of the country, because today, everywhere you go, you have the pro-Wike people and the pro-Fubara. Even in my state, for example, Adamawa State, which is a northeastern state, when you go, typically a politician will tell you, I don't like what Wike is doing, I like what Fubara is doing. So already, River State issue has become a national issue, and people are taking side. So honestly, the minister should slow down, and at this point, the president should as well call him and make him understand the energy is needed more on development. He may have his differences with his party people, but he should slow down. Let's enjoy his energy in development, project development, as against fighting his party people. He has a lot of lieutenants he must have trained. He must have nurtured at this stage. If he wants anything in PDP, he will have it. He knows how to go about it. Is it that he wants them to be elected in position? Is it that he wants them to participate? He knows how to go about it. But going as far as creating discomfort in the entire state, like I said, I am personally not happy with what is happening in River State, as much as, even though I have never condemned what the president has done. Never, for a second, because I was not looking.
You don't think it's undemocratic?
I was not. It was undemocratic, but it's not everything undemocratic that is condemnable. It's not, because if you look at what has happened in River State, if the effect of what is happening in River State is consequential to our economy as a country, because River State is the fastest growing economy in Nigeria. Not even Lagos. Many people don't know. Internal growth rate of River State 2024, Mr. Talba, is 36 to 37%. And Lagos State was struggling with just 50% of that, which is 16. I don't think you will believe me telling you this. Last year, 2024, IGR of River State was the highest in the country. And this translates to the economic contribution of the country. And this year, it was projected to go higher with a monthly revenue of about 24 billion naira, which is combined what the northeastern Nigeria is generating monthly. So now, if you tell me I will sit as a president to see River State being destroyed when I am only a mono-economic system country, all my internal generated revenue most of it is on crude, and I will allow people whom I don't know whether they are APC people or they are PDP people or they are even sponsored mercenaries from outside the country, because you can come from neighboring Gulf of Guinea nations into River State because they have border with the high sea. So we don't know who is destroying our pipelines. So what the president has done for River State is good. The only thing we should be looking at now is on the tension in the state, how will the president as well contribute in solving this problem, because it's necessary for governance to continue.
Right. The man who is sole administrator in River State has also come under some heavy public criticism because he has suspended all political appointees. He's making some changes. I mean, clearly you say you don't think because the move by the president is undemocratic, it doesn't make it wrong. You don't condemn it. You think the ends justifies the means. But talk to me about all of these tensions, because now we understand that there's another plot that is brewing. The former head of service, who recently just resigned, has opened yet another can of worms. And the governor is saying, listen, this is yet another chapter in this book of conspiracy to undermine his leadership in the state and to also relieve him of his mandate using whatever means necessary. What do you make of the head of service comments, his wife jumping in? Because clearly now like you said, the division is nationwide. In Rivers State now, the Wike Fubara camp is touching families, husbands and wives. The husband apparently is on the side of, everything that is not pro-Fubara, at least. And the wife has come out to say, listen, everything my husband has been saying is probably under duress. And the man has doubled down multiple times to say, listen, there's nothing under duress. The governor is the one undermining the peace and security of Rivers State. Talk to me about this new chapter in this saga.
This also, you can attribute it to the immorality that is embedded into our political system. A system of doing anything to get something. Whenever you find yourself in life, Mr. Talbot, that you can do anything just to get something, anything, then that certainly what you're looking for, what you're going to do is you will not escape doing the wrong things. And I look at the video of the woman interviewed by a TV station. I look at the husband talking, and I was telling a friend, just in my own point of analysis, these are two videos that you can just say they were staged. These are staged videos. Could it be that people from the APC are also trying to still, they say, give a dog a bad name in order to hang it? Are they still trying to justify why Fubara, should be removed? Because if you remember, before the intervention of the state of declaration of the state of emergency, they were already, what was on the atmosphere was resignation, resign or be impeached.
Right.
So if that is the case, and now saying he was even undermining governance in a state where he is the governor, it doesn't really play. What does it take him? Because you are the #1 security officer in your state, and this is a position that is given to somebody once in 4 years, and only one person in the state. Rivers State has one of the highest population in Nigeria. So I think this kind of rare opportunity that is given to Fubara, no matter what he would do, but he wouldn't go so low to the destruction of the same state he wants to govern. I'm not holding brief for him, neither am I supporting what he's doing or what. But what I'm trying to tell you, this is like enemies at work. We need to do everything possible to ensure this man lives. We need to do everything possible to ensure he stays. And if the husband and the wife allow themselves to be caught up in this crossfire, then it is unfortunate. Because I don't think it is proper for the man and his wife to be used in this manner. He will say one thing, she will say another. Where do that leave their children? Have they forgotten their years of marriage? They are destroying it in just weeks? Because I don't get it. So you really speaking, I will tell you, Rivers State has been tested, Mr. Talbot. Just like what Borno, Yobe, and a part of my state, Adamawa State, are facing with Boko Haram. It's a test. Just like what the people in the Northwest are facing, the banditry, cattle rustling, and the rest. It's the test. And what is expected of people now in Rivers State and surroundings is to rise to this occasion. Defend this state. Make sure you restore back normalcy, because if a shop is burned down in Rivers State, you are destroying the resources of your own brother in Rivers State. You are destroying the contribution of an economic component of Rivers State. I think people should be thinking along this line so that they will stop accepting foreign elements, using them to destroy their state, because this is what some people are accusing us in the northern Nigeria of being quiet when Boko Haram is, meting out damages to the northeast, and you hardly see elders condemning it. The same thing in the northwest, you hardly will hear, yes, there are a pocket of people who will come out and condemn it, but most, I don't know if it is fear or whatever, but I think there is no worth paying for the good existence of your people. So really speaking, Rivers State people need to come together and stay off the track of this sentiment that is destroying what they have enjoyed for so many years.
Let's have a listen to what former Governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amici, had to say. He was speaking to an international media outfit who, he basically just summarized everything to say it's all about money. It's all about the commonwealth of the people being shared by the two main parties involved. How do you summarize something like that?
Was that what he did too, in 8 years? You know, that's one. You know, I'll continue to make reference to morality. Was that what he did in his 8 years? Because if this is the time he will be talking about, it's all about sharing the resources, the common resources of the people. Was that what he did?
But doesn't it also make sense?
It doesn't.
Because we know people can fight this bad.
Yes.
About money.
Because now, if it is about the money, we should be hearing, because it has gotten so tensed that at this point, Fubara should say anything and Wike should say anything. Nobody is expecting anybody of any form of decorum. Nobody. At this point, they should spill out as much as possible. But I haven't had so far much of the money thing. Yes, speculatively, you will hear it from people. Oh, Wike wants to be given some portion of the money from the IGR, this. But there is no any fact to back all these allegations. Oh, Fubara has already declared what the IGR without Wike's approval, and Wike got annoyed, blah, blah, blah. All this, I don't have facts to back it. So if that is the case, don't we have elders in Rivers State? We have past governors, Mr. Talma. We have people who are ministers. We have key industry players. We have the president himself, and we have other regional players in that area who are their friends. Most importantly, we have the South-South Elders Forum, which Edwin Clark late was chairman. And I'm sure when he is buried, another person will take over. Where are these people? Where are these people that they don't know the channel to bring all these guys, even if it is about money? Yes, we don't have a perfect system in Nigeria. Neither do we have a perfect people. In fact, even in countries where democracy is practiced at its best, you don't expect perfection, let alone Nigeria that is still a baby. But where are these people that this state is born in? And they are still holding on to their side, claiming what and what not. I am not at fault, he is this, he must go, he must not survive. And forgetting the interest of the people of Rivers State who voted them to those offices. This is highly unfortunate. And if they can't come together to resolve this, honestly speaking, I give the people of Rivers State more of the blame and the elders more than what I will apportion to Wike and Fubara, because if these guys will let these people know, if you continue on this path, you are doing it at your own peril. Rivers State people will not be with you. I'm sure they will come back to table and discuss. All
right, finally, the president has announced the appointment of several officials of the APC, including its National Publicity Secretary, Felix Moka, and 19 others, APC state chairman, as board chairman of various federal institutions. This was, of course, announced by the president's media aide, Bayo Onanuga. Some sort of criticism always trails this type of appointments. I mean, it's political reward, political patronage at the highest level. There are some within the APC who have criticized the president of not rewarding the right set of people and rewarding the wrong set of people, and also putting square pegs in round holes. These federal institutions, some of them are very professional bodies, commissions and agencies of government that need some sort of guidance by technocrats or people that actually know what it takes to provide that kind of leadership. Do you share some of these concerns raised by members of the public?
No, really. No, really. And I tell you this. We have a system that was built and is still building up on the foundation of sentiments long ago. With this PDP usually have it all the way. If it is APC, the first time we witness a government that allows opposition to stay in power throughout with them was Buhari administration. And that was why APC people were not happy with him. President Buhari has stayed with PDP people for his 8 years in office. In fact, some of them, their tenure expired. He renewed and renewed. Typically, is the CBN governor. He was an appointee of the PDP government, but the president kept him, reappointed him. And we have a couple of people like that. Now, The Bola Tinubu administration just started, almost getting to 2 years now. If you ask me, state party chairmen, should they be rewarded or not? I will tell you 100% they should be rewarded, because these are people who contributed positively to the emergence of the president.
Right.
Should it be in violation of the constitution that establishes or acts that establishes those agencies they are appointed to head as board chairman? I will tell you no. My reason is this. Board chairman, their role, Mr. Talba, is mostly a little of administration and very much little of operation. And what do they need? Do they need the requisite skill to be appointed as board chairman? I don't think necessary. But we have never done anything perfection around board chairman selection ever in Nigeria. So why now with the APC government? Because those that should be appointed later will be appointed. So if starting with the state party chairman is what the president has done, we applaud him because they are leaders of the party at each state. But we should encourage him to do so for other well-meaning Nigerians across the board, whether they don't even have party affiliation, but they should contribute meaningfully to the development of the country. All
right. Some will say, spoken as a true APC man yourself. Honorable Nuruddeen Hammanyero, thank you so much for joining us this evening, for providing some insight on this.
Thank you, Mr. Talba, and happy Salah to all Nigerians.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, that is it for tonight's edition of the program. Thank you so much for joining us on Sunday Politics. We will be back tomorrow with Daily Politics, live and exclusive, as always, on Trust TV. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. For myself and the rest of the team, enjoy the rest of your evening. Barakat Sallah.